All right, we're at a place that I've never been to, never shot at, but we've got Colby and we've got...
You're gonna introduce me?
I just brain farted on Lene's name. But we've got Lene, and she's gonna give me a hard time. But she's got a weird name. So location scouting. A photo should tell a good story, and every story has a setting. That setting is time and place. And so with your location, you need to think about time and place. But we're talking about locations for photography, and we're gonna talk about just locations in general. Just have water drops on them. It's a little rainy today. We're talking about locations in general because I started in landscape and nature photography. Now I do a lot of portrait photography. So we're going to talk about, and I find that searching out a location for both is the same, mostly. So this first place we're going to is actually a place I'm already familiar with. I grew up in Austin, and it's a little park on Bull Creek. And it's got a good bit of nature, and it's in the city. It's just a little bit outside the city, but nature is everywhere. You can find nature no matter where you look. Life has a way of working and doing what it wants. If you don't believe me, go watch Jurassic Park. So we're gonna look at different ways to evaluate speed bumps, but also different ways to evaluate locations for landscape and different ways to evaluate locations for portraits, which, as I said, are not really all that entirely different. So, pulling up on the park now. We'll get out here in a second. So we're jamming on this theme of how to find a location, telling a story, time and place is your setting. And so I've chosen this time and place. It's Bull Creek Park, or I don't know what they call it these days, but that's what we used to call it. Timing is nice. It's later in the morning than I would normally be shooting wildlife. It's like, oh gosh, 10:30, but it's also kind of a dreary morning, so nobody's here, so nobody's going to be messing with our shots. The other cool thing about right now is that it's different weather than what you normally see pictures of this park in. So what I'm looking for is, time-wise and location-wise, is something unique, something different than what you're seeing everywhere. And so I'm going to go ahead and snap some pictures, see what I can see. So some tools that I use. The first tool that I use is Google Street View, especially if it's somewhere where I don't live. We're at this park. I don't live in Austin anymore. Austin is a completely different city than it was when I did live here. I found this on Google Street View. That's your #1 tool for location scouting, is Google Street View. So we're gonna get started shooting. Actually, we're gonna be at this thing. Catwalk. And that raises a very important point. Number one rule in a new location is turn around, because cars, fewer cars.
Horses.
So we're gonna face that way.
So my first rule about location is turn around. Because you're gonna walk into that place or drive into that place in one direction. You're gonna be looking ahead, but you don't see 360 degrees, so turn around and look the other way. I find that so often a good shot is in the other direction.
So with locations, one more thing you want to consider is efficiency. And so be looking at your wardrobe ahead of time and figuring out what order you want to do it in. So she's got a cute little black skirt that I think would look great in a parking garage. So guess what we're doing next is the parking garage. And then we're gonna change again while we're here next to the Dadmobile and go do something else. So think efficient, think close, think fast, because you don't want to be shooting all day, or maybe you do, and that's fun. So here's something I don't suggest, but it'll be fun anyways. No idea whose motorcycle it is, but maybe this will be evidence in our trial.
Second tool I use is my truck. I'll drive around and drive places where maybe don't trespass, but don't go places where there's lots of people. Don't go places where everybody else goes. Don't get the obvious shot. Get the non-obvious shot. Look harder at the world around you. The other tool I'll use is my legs. When you find what you think is a good place, get out of your vehicle and walk around. You will find a better place. Turn around and you will find a better place to shoot.
So we're on our third scene. A scene is an outfit plus a location. Watch where we are. So there's the table in the park where we started. The parking garage is just behind it. Now here's our third scene. And it looks amazing and almost completely different than the other two. So look for diversity when you're looking for locations, so that you don't have to spend all your time looking for parking and getting in the car and driving and blah, blah, blah. And you get to spend more time shooting. So we're gonna start on this scene now. I don't know if you caught it earlier, but I've lived in Austin. I grew up here. I'm a fourth generation Austinite. I've driven by this gazebo thing a million times. I've never actually been up here. It's a great opportunity to teach you how to see a new place. Did you catch her running up onto the pole? See, as a photographer, you're gonna be tempted to do something similar. Don't go to the first shot that your eye sees. In fact, don't even pick up your camera. Just sit there and look and see the things that nobody else sees. And that's how you're gonna get an amazing image. So that's what I'm doing right now, is we're gonna look and see, and if you're shooting with somebody, if you're doing a portrait or something, have them get out of the way, have them sit down somewhere where you think they might look good, and just don't touch your camera. Just stand there and look around and think for a second, and instead of wasting a bunch of frames. So.
Second rule for location scouting: don't shoot in the same place more than twice in a calendar year. And the reason for this is it keeps you creative. It keeps you looking for new places, because there's nothing worse than when I'm on Instagram or something and I see a photographer shooting in the same place over and over again, or if it's somebody in town, somebody in the same town where I know exactly where they are. because it's just obvious. Don't be that. That's not creative. And so that's something I put in place, a rule I put in place to limit myself in order to be more creative. I won't shoot in the same place more than twice in a calendar year. Here's another tool for you. It's a paid app. It's on iOS and Android. It's called Photo Pills. It's great. Don't mess with any other of the free apps. Because you'll have to get like 10 free apps to do what the one paid app does. It's $10. I use it all the stinking time. It's worth $10. But I think the most important thing is to actually go location scouting. Go look for interesting places for no other reason than finding interesting places. There needs to be some originality. There needs to be some uniqueness, and not only to the subject, but to the whole setting, to the whole story, because it's just telling the same story over and over again otherwise. And I believe in telling your story, not in telling the same story, just switching out the characters. So yeah, there's location scouting. It's the importance of finding good locations, good settings. I'm not going to call it locations anymore. Good settings for your story as a photographer. So if you live in San Angelo, listen, you know who to hire, you know who to call to get a good story, to get your story with the proper setting. But if you live somewhere else, if you don't live in Texas, if you don't live in West Texas, find a photographer who's telling stories in interesting settings, because they're going to eat your story right. Thanks again for watching and listening, caring about my opinion. Hope you enjoyed the shoot video. There's lots of ways to connect with me. Check the links in the description below. They've got every way to connect you could possibly imagine. If you really like what I do, 3 ways to help out. 1, Patreon. 2, check out my gear bag. It's a page on my website that lists all the gear I have. And so if you're wondering, what camera should I get? What's a good camera? What's good gear? There's your answer. If you click on one of those links, it'll take you to Amazon. And when you buy it from Amazon, I get a commission. You don't pay any extra. And Amazon makes a sale. That's a win-win-win situation. Finally, third of all, I've got a landscape and nature store for buying actual printed photos. You can buy my desktop background. You can buy my print up here. That's all I got for you. Thank you. God bless you. And we will see you next time.